Legislation is dead in committee. Congress is in recess. Washington's distracted by a big scandal. Is anybody paying attention? Well, Senator Rick Santorum co-sponsored the bill in the Senate. He's in Philadelphia this morning. Congressman Joe Barton is the chairman of the House committee that's considering the bill. He's in Fort Worth, Texas. Gentlemen, nice to see you both. Thanks for talking with us. Congressman Barton, why don't we begin with you? First, you are chair of the committee that could have brought this bill onto the floor of the House. Why won't you do it?
Well, the House passed the National Institute of Health Reauthorization Bill 412-2, and we sent it over to the Senate, and we have asked Senator Santorum and other senators to bring that bill to the Senate floor. It includes most of what is in the autism bill that Senator Santorum has worked so hard on, and we feel like that if we can get the Senate to work with us on the NIH bill, we're more than willing to work with the Senate on Senator Santorum's autism bill.
So clearly, Congressman Barton, Senator Santorum likes the NIH reform bill a little bit better. Is it true that, in fact, what's in the NIH reform bill pretty much is the same thing that's included in your bill?
Well, it's not the same thing. There are some reforms, clearly, and we actually wrote the Combating Autism bill to fit in to the NIH reform bill that Congressman Barton has been working on for many, many years. And as Congressman knows, I was in constant conversation with him and many House members all last week in an attempt to try to help the NIH bill come through the Senate, as well as to try to move the Combating Autism bill through the House of Representatives. But there's some very key provisions in the Combating Autism bill that we've worked on for literally over a year that are not in the NIH bill that are critical. And one is the Center of Excellence for environmental causes. One of the things the autism community is very concerned about and is suspicious about is the research that's been done with respect to what causes autism. And many believe that there are environmental factors and that we need a congressionally mandated Center of Excellence to focus on those environmental causes. The NIH bill does not do that. In fact, it says that you don't have congressionally designated centers. I think in this case, because of the suspicion about NIH and the research that's been done, we need that center and we need it congressionally mandated.
Congressman Barton, there are so many people who would say autism is a crisis. I mean, you just look at the numbers. 1 in every 104 boys who are born are going to be born autistic. Isn't there a point at which one disease actually deserves the attention and, frankly, the money, as opposed to just handing it over to the NIH?
Well, you've kind of hit on the problem there. The NIH, as it's currently structured, has 27 different institutes. It has probably several hundred centers of excellence. There are at least 3 centers of excellence right now in NIH on autism, and there could be as many as 21, depending on how you want to classify and count them. So the House is not anti-autism, just the contrary. But we want to reform the entire structure, and Senator Santorum wants to do that too. We think that the NIH reform package puts in motion the accounting principles, the transparency principles, all the various things that will make it possible to actually focus more on autism. Again, we're not anti-autism, but the Senator's legislation has a specific authorization level, which no one outside of the autistic community supports that. We're already spending more on autism than Senator Santorum's bill would authorize. So I don't see a reason to put a specific authorization level. So the differences between the House and the Senate on this issue are not nearly as great as they're perceived to be. We want to help the autistic community. In fact, almost all of the autism groups endorsed the NIH reform package when it came through the House.
Well,
and again,
aren't many of them
412-2.
Forgive me for interrupting you there, but aren't many of them saying that they support, as Senator Santorum just said, they support sort of both? That yes, I mean, a lot of people would say the NIH needs to be reformed, but at the same time, you have a major crisis here with autism.
Well, the point, and again, Senator Santorum is one of my best friends, and he's worked tirelessly on this issue, and he's to be commended for that. We're not opposed to the principles in the Santorum bill. We have sent back to the Senate, not formally but unofficially, a proposal that mirrors Senator Santorum's bill.
Is that true, Senator Santorum? Do you think you've got something that's coming back to you that mirrors the 95%? Is that 95% close enough?
Well, you know, the problem is that there are 3 major things that are not in the proposal that are just from my perspective, it may be 90 or 95%, although it's about 2/3 of the actual language of the bill that's been taken out. I would just suggest that it's a bigger chunk than that, and it's very important things. You know, autism is a disorder that really doesn't have a home at NIH. I mean, it sort of falls through the cracks of the institutes. It's sort of parceled out in a lot of different places. And, you know, the Senate is not big on passing disease-specific bills. We haven't passed one in 5 years because of what Congressman Barton said, you know, the problems over at NIH. But we believe, and the Senate believes, and Senator Dodd, who's my sponsor on the Democratic side, after looking at this, and by the way, Senator Kennedy and Senator Enzi, who are the chairman of the committee, they really believe that this was a special case, as you said, Soledad, and that we really needed to do something special because of the suspicion in the autism community that the research that's been done at NIH really doesn't reflect the reality of what's going on out there. And that's why we, unlike an NIH reform, we need Congress to step in and actually tell NIH to do this particular kind of research. We need to tell them to take to focus on an area which, to date, the community is not convinced that they've done a good job at.
Gentlemen, before I let you go, I've got to ask you a question about the Mark Foley scandal. I know you're both prepared to talk about it because it's probably all you've been talking about for the last few days. Do you still support the House Speaker? Do you think that Congressman Hastert, in fact, if this new aide, the new allegations, this aide saying that in fact the office knew much earlier, do you think he still has your support as a leader?
Well, let me speak first since I'm in the House. I talked to Speaker Hastert yesterday. I totally support him. I think he's a man of integrity and decency. I believe he's telling the truth. I think Congressman Foley is an isolated case. He's resigned from the House. An investigation is being conducted by the FBI. I think we ought to focus on the issues and move on and let the judicial system and the rehabilitation system take care of Congressman Foley.
If indeed it turns out, Senator Santorum, that Congressman that information about Congressman Foley in fact made its way to Congressman Hastert's office much earlier than was first reported and first believed, maybe years before. Do you think that would be reason for more Republicans to be calling for him to step down?
Well, I would just say that this is a very serious matter, and obviously some people, whether it was staff members, certainly we know staff members knew about this, as much as now recently reported a couple of years ago. They didn't take it seriously, and that is I can't tell you how much I condemn that. It is absurd that we have these pages who are entrusted to us, that they would be made vulnerable to a predator, and that some people, obviously some people knew this was going on and didn't act. And the question is, who knew? Did the staff members withhold it from members of Congress? If that's the case, the staff members should suffer the consequence of it. If it's not the case, if the member of Congress actually knew about this these transgressions, then those members have to be held accountable. We should have a less than zero tolerance, if that's possible, attitude toward this type of behavior.
Senator Rick Santorum of Pennsylvania, Congressman Joe Barton of Texas. Gentlemen, thanks. Miles?
Thank you.
Still to come on the